If you have tickets, we'll take them, please. There's my man. Okay, good. Thanks.
Now you know the mistake. All right. You'll hear the last one.
Thanks for praying. Thanks for the same time guy with red.
Thank you. I'm fine. This is where the tickets are for the tables. I gave you the Just remember your table.
I know I'd find it.
Okay. Thanks a lot. Remember the table numbers, please.
This lovely lady here.
Thanks. Okay.
If I give you my ticket, I can't go out again. He lived at Oakland. I know what table I'm at.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks a lot.
Still playing college. I'm still playing some college. Yeah, right. We're going to get up and still playing college. No, because my kids only play. No, I don't send them a bill. John,
Slim, say a few words. Joel, say a few words. Outstanding coach. Here, Veer. Just on. What is that? Well, this is going to be big time. This is for the... You have to say a couple of words. Say a couple of words.
couple of words.
Yeah. No, say a couple of words. Say something nice. All right, good. Say a couple of words.
Everything's to his specification. That's more shopping, huh?
We saw yesterday on the way downtown. Yeah, we were in there probably a good many hours yesterday. What was up there, man?
Yes. No. Yes. Outstanding affair. One of the very best. How honored I am to be part of it. And good luck to this entire organization. May it live forever.
All right. Very good.
Congratulations.
You know, Eddie and Fanning. Another one, Steve. Want to put you on camera? Oh, okay.
Great night. Great night. Thanks for all the honor. I'm humbled.
I like this one here. I like that.
Yeah.
Very
Where's the one that we put? Tonight's news. I don't see here. All right, buddy. Thank you. I think his name is Reem or something. Reem.
He looks like you. Yes.
I'll tell you.
Okay. Would you like to get in there with me?
Get on that side, Doc. No, put him in the middle. Yeah, here.
That'll be nice. Okay.
Ted.
All right, ready? 1, 2, 3. Hold on. Ready? 1, 2.
I won't need the length. No, I'm going to take it. Thank you, sir.
Graham, hopefully finally.
Get out of here. But I think they made it. He says it's they made it. The other one that they asked, on the list.
very much. Thank you very much. Everyone, if you will be seated, we can get started. My name is John Furlow, and I'd just like to welcome you. This is a tremendous night and a tremendous day. Started out this morning with a yesteryear brunch, and it was just a wonderful time. And believe me, we had the air conditioning up threefold when some of these old-timers got talking about some of their 100-yard runs and their 35-yard field goals, and those yesteryear people really are tremendous, tremendous folks. We had a great time this morning, so I'm not going to belabor the point in welcoming you. You're all welcome. You've all been here. You are a great bunch of people. We have probably one of the greatest groups of sports figures to go into the Pennsylvania Sports Hall of Fame as we've ever had. At this time, I'd like to present our colors, and the Marine Corps League of Upper Darby is here to do that. I'd like to introduce these young men. Number 1, Staff Sergeant Jim Oliva, retired 1st Recon, 1st Marine Division, Vietnam, 1970-71, Color Guard Sergeant. Number 2, Lance Corporal Sam Bauer, Fleet Marine Force, Atlantic, 4 years Marine Corps, Bosnia, 26th Marine Expeditionary Unit. 3rd, Tom Weaver, 1st Marine Division, Vietnam, 1969-71. And 4th, Pete Leahy, Sergeant, U.S. Marine Corps, 1980-89, 4th Marine Division. Let's give a hand and a welcome to the Marine Corps League of Upper Darby. The Pledge of Allegiance will be led by Milt Halstead.
We'll all do it together. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Our great thanks to the Marine Corps League of Upper Darby. At this time, I'd like to introduce Monsignor Joseph McFadden, who will do our invocation. Monsignor.
Let us pray. Almighty God, we give you thanks and praise for all the good things you give us each and every day, and for the blessings you pour forth upon us. As we come together tonight to honor new members of the Pennsylvania Sports Hall of Fame, we thank you for their accomplishments over the years. We thank you for the joy that we received as a result of their participation in sports. We're conscious that you give us the ability to participate so that we may have a sense of joy. We pray also for those in the Pennsylvania Sports Hall of Fame who may pass from this life, who return to you. We commend them to you. As we join around these tables, we ask you to bless us, to bless the food we're about to eat, and our conversation and our friendship. We ask this in your name. Amen.
Thank you, Father. I guess everyone may be seated. There's a few introductions and some things I'd like to say while we still have your attention. While we still have your attention, the Delaware County chapter would like to thank a few people who have given much to ensure the success of the 37th Annual Sports Hall of Fame ceremonies. Lou Capiella from the Summit chapter has just been outstanding. Milt Halstead from the City All-Stars has been an outstanding help for us. Al Dvorak from the Phoenixville chapter. Doug Ludwig from the Pottstown chapter along with Gabby Reniger. These people have just done an outstanding job as far as and making it so easy for us to put on such a great affair. I'd like to give personal thanks to Mario Tadero and Carmen Libertor, and a real special thanks to Len Paradise. We couldn't have done it without you fellas. There was a great hospitality room last evening and all day today. Al Hammond, George Kurak, and their gang, thanks a million. And many thanks to the ladies of Delaware County Chapter for their help. As you see, we have these little items for the inductees, and those folks did a great job in preparing those things for us. Just an introduction that I'd like to make, and I'm not going to be doing a lot of the introducing of the people tonight because we've all been sort of around. But I'd like to introduce Bill Usher, President of the South Philadelphia High School Alumni Association. Bill, over here. And I was pressured into that because I'm from South Philadelphia, and he said, you better do that or you get a broken leg. Enjoy your meal, folks, and we'll be back to you from time to time. Thank you. Just a few introductions I'd like to make. First off, there will be videos available of the entire ceremony, of the proceedings, and there are some other shots and so forth that are going to be included in the video. In order to get the video that we made available, see Joe D'Angelo. The price will be $20 a tape. There isn't any money made on this, and he needs your name, address, and phone number. And Joe D'Angelo is sitting right over here. Joe, you want to stand up?
Stand up, Joe.
He really was standing. A couple of folks that I'd like to introduce. Marv Bachrod is sitting over here. He's former president of the Sports Writers, and he was recently inducted into the Harness Track Association Hall of Fame. Marv, stand up. And Addie is not here, but Al and Addie Kelly are strong supporters over many years. Al and Addie Kelly. Stand up, Al. Great supporters. At our table here, we have Bob Tennant, Daily Times sports editor. Right here, Bob. And back in here, dear old friend, many of you know him as Buck the bartender, Bob Patrone. Bob. And one of my favorites that I love to introduce all the time, one of the all-time Hall of Famers, one of the greatest guys going, former Philadelphia Eagle, Jack Ferrani. A guy right from the Sandlots, man. You can't get any better than that. Let's see. Okay, we're going to have the procession of the inductees. Now, will the inductees and their escort just form in the back? Al, would you sort of direct that back in there? Ralph Baker, Penn State football, escorted by his wife, Betsy. Ralph, come right around here. All the way down here. All the way down here. Okay. Our second inductee, Thomas Brookins, Major League Baseball, escorted by his wife, Krista. Our third inductee, Owen Doherty, deceased, Penn State football and baseball, coming up with his son, Robert Doherty. What's your name?
I'm his daughter, Jenny.
Your
daughter.
Owen's?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. And this is Ginny, Owen Doherty's daughter. Our next inductee, Dr. Arnold Green, football, basketball, and baseball. Being escorted up the aisle, Dr. Green's grandchildren, Chrissy and Dave. Next, James Heller Jr., Penn State football, being escorted by his dad, James Heller Sr., who was an outstanding football player at University of Pennsylvania. Our next inductee, Bernie Lemonick, All-American, University of Pennsylvania, being escorted by his wife Felicia and Vice President of the Maxwell Club, Bob Clark. Enjoy the sun. Our next inductee, Bill Lyon, Excellence in Journalism, escorted by his wife Ethel. Next inductee, George Raveling, Outstanding Basketball Coach and Player, escorted by Dr. Woodrow Wilson. Inductee, Joe Schumacher, Penn State football and an outstanding coach, escorted by Bernie Romanowski. Our next inductee, Aggie Stegmiller, field hockey, basketball, Temple University, escorted by Mike Portiker, classmate at Temple and member of the Delaware County Board. Aggie Stegmiller. Next inductee, Steve Vasendek, basketball, Duke Hall of Fame, escorted by his son, Steven. Okay, let's have a big hand for these inductees, and we'll get them. Okay, fellas, you can all sit down. Okay, now I'd like to introduce our president of the Pennsylvania State Hall of Fame, Tom Harlan.
Thank you, John. On behalf of the 28 chapters and the 7,000 members statewide of the Pennsylvania Sports Hall of Fame, we welcome you to this outstanding ceremonial this evening. I want to especially thank John Furlow for agreeing to chair this event. It's not only tonight, it was a brunch this morning. It was 4 different meetings last night. And it's a terrible or a terrific responsibility, and I salute him for agreeing to do it and doing it in a great manner. John. And he had thousands, a cast of thousands to help him, and I won't try to do that. But one guy in particular, the sweetheart of the Sports Hall of Fame, Lou Cappiello. Lou keeps me going. These weekends are peaks and valleys, and you think things are going to fall apart, then they're great. And Lou's always there smiling and saying, you know, go get him, Tom. So thank you, Lou. We have a basic mission in our bylaws and in our articles of incorporation. And we have a duty to perpetuate annually the memory of sports people who have brought lasting fame and recognition to the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania through their excellence in sports in whatever form. That's our mission. As you can imagine, it takes us a long time to do anything worthwhile. We're not experts at it, but we work at it, and it's truly a labor of love. And this is the culmination of an entire year of selfless endeavor and hundreds of hours of people to make sure we address and meet that mission. And before you this evening, we have 11 people. And when you listen to and read their accomplishments, I think you'll truly agree with me that this organization has met its mission tonight, because they're truly outstanding people. And I'm proud to stand here and be part of this ceremony and to be part of these people who have devoted themselves to sports. And when you devote yourself to sports, you're devoting yourself to the community at large and to the nation and everything that's great about it. And I'm just proud as punch to be here. Secondly, I think we have an implied duty to go beyond that. And I think our duty is, and what we've been trying to do for the last 9 years, is to build a Hall of Fame, or a museum, if you will, to honor these 11 people here and the several hundred past inductees that we've inducted into this Hall of Fame. And not only that, not only to those several hundred people, but to the terrific tradition of sport in Pennsylvania. I belong to, our organization belongs, I'm the representative in the organization, to the International Association of Sports Halls of Fame and Museums, which is an umbrella organization that has about 150 different kinds of sports museums and halls of fame. I go to an annual convention. Without fail, everybody at that annual convention, and we're talking about worldwide, looks at Pennsylvania, and they know we're trying to build this museum, and they say, how are you going to do it? You have the state that has the richest load of sports people in the world. And they truly say that to me. And that's an awesome responsibility, but we're going to meet that responsibility. And I think before the year's out, there's going to be a major announcement that there's going to be a museum and a sports facility in Pennsylvania to honor these folks up here and everybody else that has gone before them and everybody else that's gone before them in the last 200-300 years of Pennsylvania sports. So that's where we're at. That's where we want to be. Again, I salute these people up here. It's an honor to be here, and I hope you enjoy the evening. Thank you.
At this time, it gives me a great deal of pleasure, a tremendous amount of pleasure, to introduce one of the Dean of Philadelphia Broadcasting, a guy who's been with us for a number of years, Bill Ransom.
Since you were a youngster, John, I think I did the first one of these. Can you hear me all right? Yeah.
In all corners? At Alpine Inn. Oh, yeah. And later September's, whatever. We get glasses, notes, nitro, fix-a-dent. I'm all ready. I missed one. I had throat surgery, and that was back before the days of laser. I think they went in with a 9-iron. And Bobby Vitrone stood in for me. And I saw him tonight and was pleasantly surprised, because you never know who you're going to meet at these banquets, particularly the Delco banquet. And he said to me, "Don't be nervous." You can't say that. I'm nervous. Everybody's nervous. If you don't have butterflies in your stomach and you're not scared to death you're going to blow something, you're not human. I want to thank the Maxwell Club for the wine. That bottle on the table with the picture of Ron Jaworski. That's a gift from the Maxwell Club, and Bob Clark, the vice president and executive director, sitting over there at table 9. He's still there. Where is he? Okay. That's a nice compliment, Bob, to think that I didn't recognize you. Bob used to be tall and slim. Now Bob is tall. I went to the University of Virginia. Don't say so what. But it means that I'm required to say, never has so much greatness dined in one room since the night that Thomas Jefferson had dinner by himself. Okay, let's go to work. Our first honoree, Dr. Arnold Green. Football, basketball, baseball, considered by many to be the most gifted athlete ever seen in central Pennsylvania. He earned 11 letters at Huntington High School, graduated in dentistry program at the University of Pittsburgh, DDS, in 1937. At Pitt, he was a starting quarterback and fullback for 3 seasons in the golden days of Coach Jock Sutherland. He played fullback during Pitt's 21-0 victory over Washington in the 1937 Rose Bowl, a victory which led the Panthers to the national championship. He played minor league baseball with the Cincinnati Reds in 1938, and he coached basketball and baseball at Juniata College. He was an average scratch and champion golfer in his later years, to except for Dr. Arnold Green, his grandchildren, Chrissy and David.
Wow. Didn't look like there was this many people here sitting over there. I'll just take a couple of minutes. I want to thank everybody for coming. And one thing, if you look in the insert of your bulletin tonight, it has him listed as a different name. His name is actually Dr. Thomas Arnold Green, and don't feel bad. When I was growing up, I didn't know what his name was either. Everybody called him Doc and Arnold and Arn and Dr. Green, and I was 13 before I knew what his name was, so it's all right. One thing I did want to share, and thank you for the synopsis of his athlete career. On October 25th, 1985, at Pawpaw Country Club in Orangeburg, South Carolina, if anybody knows where that is. He shot 1 under par, 71, and he was 71 that year. So how many here can say that they shot their age? I actually shot my age about a year ago. I'm 23, so last year I shot 23. Second hole I shot about an 18. Nobody, aside from his athletic career, he taught me a lot of things out on the golf course aside from golf. I remember one day offered me a lifesaver, and I kind of took it from him real quickly, and he took it right back. And I was a little youngster then, and I was pretty quick, and he got it back from me and taught me not to snatch things from people, and I've remembered that ever since. But other than the golf and the athletics, he was a really good painter. I just bought a house, and I have several of his paintings hanging in my living room. As well as that, he taught me how to play the guitar. He was a really good guitar player, and he had some acute arthritis at the time, but he did get through it. throughout his life, his philosophy was to do good, and that's exactly what he did. And anything he ever got involved in, he did well. He was proficient in almost anything, and that's what I've based my life on. I've tried to do the best I can in everything, and I think he can set a role model for everyone in this room. I want to thank Mr. John Furlow for talking with my grandmother. She's not able to be here tonight, but he working with her worked the details out for us to be here. And thank Mr. Len Paradise for talking with my mother to work out the details for us to be here tonight. We've been looking forward to this for a long time, and we're really glad we could make it up here. I think my sister has a few things to say.
I'd also like to thank everybody, and especially I'd like to give a special thanks to Dick Shalaba and to Ray Clemens from the Huntington chapter for being here tonight. We really appreciate that. I'd also like to, just on behalf of my grandmother, as David said, who couldn't be here tonight, Frida Green, and on behalf of our father, Arnold Green, who is here, and our mother, Bobby Green, I would like to thank the Pennsylvania Hall of Fame for having our grandfather inducted. It is really an honor, and we're very proud of him, and just as he was proud of us, and we wish he could be here to receive the award himself, but we are very proud of him, and we do thank you.
Thank you.
Our next honoree was the football coach at Indiana University of Pennsylvania from the 1960s through 1982. Took his team to the Boardwalk Bowl in Atlantic City. He was the baseball coach at IUP, won a record 138 games. He had IUP in District 18 Division II playoffs 3 times. He was the only Indiana coach named Coach of the Year in 2 sports. He's a member of the IUP Hall of Fame. He led Penn State rushing his junior year and captained 1950 Penn State football. He was All-East at State. Penn State baseball 3 years, pitched 2 years in the Eastern League, All-Star football, baseball, 18 letters in 4 sports at Dunmore High. Excepting for Owen J. Doherty, his son Robert. And it is Doherty. I had to ask for the pronunciation because, you know, I've lived in Philadelphia a few years now, and I always said Doherty until I got here. And they told me it was Doherty. But tonight it's Doherty. Right?
That's right. Thank you.
On behalf of my family, I'd like to thank the members of the Pennsylvania Sports Hall of Fame, and particularly John McCormick and Ted Daniels from the Northeast chapter, who were instrumental in helping my father achieve this great honor. I'm certain my parents are both looking down on this evening's affair with great joy. My father lived his life as a sportsman and as a father by setting example that hard work and pursuit of excellence will enable one to achieve their goals. Tonight is yet another achievement which reflects his enthusiasm, the way he lived his life, and the way he achieved his goals and dreams. And I want to thank you all. Thank you.
Our next honoree was a football player. He played outside linebacker for the New York Jets from 1964 to 1974, started 141 games, 19 career interceptions, defensive captain, 73 and 74, the first former player hired to the Jets coaching staff. He coached linebackers from 80 to 84. A 3-year letterman at Penn State. Captain, played in 61-62 Gator Bowls, also played in the East-West Shrine Game, the Hula Bowl, the College All-Star Game, and the College All-America Game. He played on Lewistown High School team, which lost only 1 game in 3 years. He was the first team choice on all Central Counties team, received honorable mention on the All-State and the Big 33 teams. Would you welcome, please, number 51, Ralph Baker.
Thank you. It is a real pleasure for me to be here this evening.
I want to thank the Pennsylvania Sports Hall of Fame for this honor, and in particular, one of my former teammates, Dan Thicka. He was instrumental in, I believe, in getting me on the ballot to be voted on and all, and so for that I'm truly appreciative. And also to Jack Losh, who is the head of the West Branch Valley chapter, and they were the chapter that nominated me. Unfortunately, the county where I came from, Mifflin County, I guess their chapter is inactive and hasn't been active for a while, so I truly appreciate Jack's chapter nominating me. And in fact, I have to apologize to him also, because when we sat down at our table, we actually we have like 13 family members here, and Jack was sitting at our table, and these tables are only set up for 12 people, and so we had to ask them to squeeze in one more person, and plus we had to kick Jack out from our table. So I am appreciative of him nominating me, and I'm sorry about the mix-up there. Actually, when right before we were escorted up here, my wife gave me a little kiss, and that kiss has special significance in that, it's not just a little peck in the cheek, but it's 4 letters, K-I-S-S. Keep it short, stupid. So I will try to do that, but I would like to tell you, during my career, football career, I was always a lineman, down and dirty, and a linebacker. But I actually started out my junior high career, my very first year, I was a quarterback, believe it or not. And I have to tell you how I got switched from quarterback to being a lineman. And we were playing this one junior high game, and it was late in the game, we were losing, and right near the end of the game, I dropped back through a little screen pass out to the left. The guy caught the ball, ran it in for a touchdown, and we won by 2 points. And after the game, the coach came up to me and he said, Ralph, he said, I'm really thrilled that we won the game. I mean, that's great and all that, but he was a real fundamentalist, and he really believed in developing the junior high kids for the varsity. And he said, we like you to follow the game plan. Said, we didn't even have that screenplay in the game plan. Said, how in the heck did you come up with that play? I said, well, Coach, if you remember the play before, I would drop back to pass, and I got smothered, and when I got up, I was a little dazed, so when we went to the huddle, I looked over at my left tackle, and he was number 78. Then I looked at my left guard, and he was number 66. So I subtracted 66 from 78, and I got play number 13. And he looked at me and said, Ralph, he said, not only wasn't that playing the game, but 66 from 78 is 12. I said, Coach, if I was as smart as you, we'd have lost that game. So shortly after that, I was moved to the line, mainly because I couldn't throw the ball downfield, and I was a plow horse rather than a thoroughbred. And that brings me to one other story I will tell you. And I have another former teammate of mine is here tonight, Al Atkinson, who was inducted into the Hall of Fame a number of years ago. But he can verify, and this is truly a true story, and it's how I knew that my career was truly over. We were playing the Buffalo Bills in 1974, and we were actually winning the game. It was a crazy year. We were 1-7, and then we ended up winning the last 6 games in a row to end up at 500, and it looked like a halfway decent season, but really wasn't. But anyway, we were playing Buffalo, and their quarterback, Joe Ferguson,
threw a little swing pass over the middle to O.J. Simpson, and Al deflected the ball just as it got to Joe, and it bounced up, just when it got to O.J., it flew up in the air, and I picked it off on the 33-yard line, our own 33-yard line, and I managed to lumber down the 67 yards down the right sideline and made it to the end zone for a TD. But along the way, I think 2/3 of my teammates passed me. And there was one guy who was actually running backwards like, come on, you can make it. And actually our coach, Charlie Winter, he raced down the sideline. He was so excited, he beat me to the end zone. So I knew I was in deep, deep trouble, that my career was probably over. And in fact, the next day in the papers, they said that I accomplished 2 things with that pass interception. I helped us win the game, plus I killed the clock. So anyway, before I sit down, I would like to pay some special thanks to some people that have been instrumental in my sports career. First of all, my wife. She's been very helpful along the way, particularly when I was a player. When I went to coach in the Jets, suddenly, she never said anything when I was a player, but when I was a coach and we'd lose a game, she suddenly got very smart, and she knew all the reasons why we lost. So for those guys that are on the dais here that are coaches, God bless. But I also would like to thank my parents. My father is deceased, but my mother is here tonight. She trekked to many, many a game. I can remember when I was in junior high school, she and 2 other ladies on the block would be driving over the mountain, going to our games. I mean, she probably didn't even know what was going on the field, but she did make the trip, and I truly appreciate that. And she's still trekking along. She's down here tonight, 2 weeks after she had a disc removed from her back. So I truly appreciate my mother's support. My sister's here also. Some other family members from Juniata County. These people have gone everywhere. They've seen games in Baltimore, New York. They went to our Super Bowl game, and I truly appreciate their support over the years. Some of my 2 high school coaches, Alex Shafima, who is in this Hall of Fame, and actually my next door neighbor was my line coach, and he really helped mold my career. When I went to Penn State, I had the pleasure, believe it or not, there was somebody before Joe Paterno, and I played for Rip Engel, and he was a dear, sweet man. He was like playing for your grandfather. He had snow white hair and the softest voice, and he was just a real gentleman and a pleasure to play for. And of course, we did have some young Turks on that. Young Turks in the coaching ranks. Sever Toretti. In fact, somebody mentioned him tonight and called him Severe Toretti, and that's really what he was. And of course, Joe Paterno and some others. And then when I went to the pros, Weeb Eubank, who was our head coach, was the only coach to ever win the World Championships in both leagues. And Walt Michaels, who also is in the Hall of Fame. He was my linebacker coach, and he later hired me to be a linebacker coach when he was head coach of the Jets. So in closing, I will just say one more thing. I was telling the people at our table, my daughter just recently moved to Hagerstown, Maryland. And she went out to the mall the other day, and they had one of those sports collectible stores there. And so she went in, she saw they had some football cards, and she went over and she said, "Do you have any old Jets?" And the guy looked through them, and he said, "Yeah, I have 3. And he pulled them out, and she said, "Oh, there, that one, that's my dad." She says, how much you want for these cards? He says, oh, they're $5 a piece. So she started to pull out $15. He says, just give me $10. He said, your dad's on the house. But now, since I'm a member of the Pennsylvania Sports Hall of Fame, he'll be sorry. Thank you very much.
That's his. I think he left that. Our next honoree is a baseball player, a major league player from 1980 to 1990, named Player of the Week in the American League. During his rookie season, he singled in his first at-bat in the majors, played in the 1984 Detroit Tigers World Series champions, played every position except pitcher, named Sports Magazine American League Utility Player of the Year 1985 and 1986. He played 11 consecutive seasons in the American League, 9 with Detroit, 1 with the New York Yankees, and 1 with Cleveland. His career batting average .246 in 1,336 games. Would you welcome, please, Thomas D. Brookins.
Well, she was ahead of me. Hands like that, I could have beat him out for another year. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. I can remember right after I got to the big leagues, I had a fellow back home call me and ask me if I'd come and speak at a midget football banquet in my hometown, and I said sure. And when I got there, I come up, and the first thing I said was, really, I'm not much of a speaker. I'm a baseball player. And one guy immediately stood up and said, oh, he said, don't sell yourself short. He said, I saw you play, you're not much of a player either. And I was sitting back here earlier when the color guard came in, and I started to get a little nervous, and my wife was sitting beside me, and she said, what's the matter? I said, well, here comes the color guard. She said, so? I said, you think they're going to play the national anthem? And she said, no, I doubt it. I said, I had a bad game every time they played that song. First of all, I'd like to just thank anyone involved that had anything to do with me getting this far, as far as being inducted into a Pennsylvania Hall of Fame. I'd like to have a special thanks to Arnie Lesher, and in my local chapter, he did a lot to get me to this point, and I appreciate that, Arnie. Thank you very much. I'd also, since we're all here tonight to be recognized for achievements that we gained in sports, whether it's professional or college or high school or whatever, I think it's only fair that I would recognize a few of the people that certainly without them I wouldn't be standing here today. And I would have to start with my mother and father also. My dad was a dairy farmer. I grew up and lived on a dairy farm in a little town called Fayetteville outside of Chambersburg. And if anybody knows dairy farming, it's 365 days a year and twice a day. But they never missed a game. When I was a kid growing up, when I played Little League all the way up through high school ball, of course, once I got into pro ball, then I had to leave town, and they were probably happy about that too. But that was when they missed their first ball game. So they were always there, and I certainly appreciated that, and I always will. I'd also like to thank the Pennsylvania American Legion program. I think it was very instrumental in me getting a chance to play pro ball. I think it's an important program in the state of Pennsylvania for young players coming along playing baseball. And I'd like to tip my hat to them and say thank you for giving me the opportunity to keep playing and get a chance to be seen around the state a little bit. I'd like to thank a fellow by the name of Coach Heaps from Mansfield University that come down and recruited me out of high school and gave me a chance to keep playing baseball. If you're a baseball player out of high school that doesn't get drafted in, say, the professional draft, your only recourse is to go to college. And that gave me the opportunity to keep playing and eventually get signed out of college.
I'd like to say thank you to the Detroit Tiger organization for giving me the opportunity to play professional baseball. Although I think there was a guy named Ralph DeFranco who was a scout in the area, and he's the one that come and signed me for the Tigers. I think they fired him a couple of weeks later. I'm not sure, but and being a professional baseball player is a dream a lot of us go through, and I was very fortunate enough to live that dream. I played several years in the minor leagues, and it is a complete roller coaster ride. One day you do good and you win a game, the next day you do bad and you lose a ball game. And trying to stay on some type of even keel is hard to do, as we know, and anyone that's played sports and participated in it, it's one of the toughest things to do as a player. And I've learned that, I think, as much as anything, you have to tell yourself, when the good times are there, you enjoy them, and when the bad times are there, you got to have faith in yourself to pull yourself out of it. I'd like to finish by saying one other person that's been with me a long time, and my wife Krista. We met back in high school. That's how long we've been together. Not that I'm that old now, but we have been, and she's been with me back before I even signed a professional contract. So I would like to tip my hat to her for being able to stick out the tough times, and believe me, living with me, there's a lot of them. But I'd like to finish by saying thank you. I never dreamed that a little kid from Fayetteville, Pennsylvania could ever get to the big leagues, and then to stand up here and be inducted into this is truly an honor for me. Thank you.
Our next awardee is a football player, Penn State defensive captain. Started every game, 70, 71, and 72. And I had in my notes that he was third among the top 5 Pennsylvania career tacklers. And he found me and told me that that was wrong. That things have changed since the days he played, and he is 11th among Penn State career tacklers. But he's first among defensive linemen with 237 tackles. He just wanted to set the record straight before somebody in the audience said, "No, Jim, no, you're not." Anyway, 237 tackles, 70, 71, 72, played in 3 major bowl games, certificate of recognition by Quarterback Club of Penn State for outstanding contributions in the 70, 71, and 72 seasons. And let me repeat, the all-time leading tackler for interior Pennsylvania State University linemen. Would you welcome, please, James B. Heller, Jr. Jim?
I always get a kick out of looking at my picture when I had hair. Now I'm just maintenance free. That's all. So I don't have to do anything. But seriously, I'd like to thank the Pennsylvania Hall of Fame. I'm honored and I'm humbled to be remembered after 25 years. And I'd especially like to thank back there in Table 38 the Southern Schuylkill County chapter for submitting my name on the ballot. Although I don't live in Schuylkill County anymore, I have family and friends there, and I drink Yuengling beer, and it will always be my home. Of course, being an ex-Penn State football player, the first question they always ask is, what's it like to play for Coach Paterno? And when I played at Penn State, Joe was just getting started, so well, obviously we didn't realize how great a coach and how much of a legend he would become. But in addition to such a great coach, he's also a great humanitarian. A friend of mine from Pottsville who played professional baseball for 12 years once told me that the greatest coach is the one that lets you play. And believe me, at Penn State, there's not a whole lot of difference between the first and the third team. And Joe gave me that opportunity, and for that I'll always be grateful. I'd like to thank my family for coming tonight. My wife Jean, whom I met at Penn State and been married 25 years. My mom and dad, who will celebrate their 50th anniversary next year at this time. And my mother and father-in-law, who just last month celebrated their 50th anniversary. My sister and brother-in-law and my children. Thank you for sharing this night with me. And like many of you, we still go to the Penn State games, sometimes all together, and what a great family experience that is. And unfortunately, the traffic's getting worse, and it takes a full day to get there. Well, I don't have to explain that. But being a competitive athlete took a lot of time, a lot of sacrifices, a lot of pain, a lot of highs and lows. But on nights like this, it makes it all worthwhile. Thank you.
I have a couple of personal notes here that Len Paradise gave me that were sent to him, and they're for our next awardee, but they're beautiful, and I thought you should hear them. Unfortunately, we're unable to attend tonight's wonderful ceremony. However, we want you to know how pleased we are for receiving this great honor. I'm proud of you. What those in the audience will hear is how great an athlete you were on the football field, and that you were one of the greatest players in Pennsylvania football history. What the audience will not hear, and what they should know, is that we think you are the greatest father, father-in-law, and grandfather in Pennsylvania history. We love you. Jim, Gail, Jacqueline, and Elizabeth. These things break me up, I'm sorry. On this your special night, as your only daughter, only son-in-law, and newest grandson, we send our heartfelt love and congratulations. Although we're not here in person, we're with you in spirit. We want you to know how deserving you are of this award. Of course, to us, you are an award winner every day. Much love, Julie, Scott, and Mark. How about this one from number 40? Congratulations and best wishes to a great guy on this special night. Had you played with the Philadelphia Eagles, we would have won another championship. Sorry, I cannot be with you tonight since I'm in California. Good luck, Tom Brookshire. Our next awardee was a lineman at the University of Pennsylvania from 1948 through 1950. Bill Stearns, first team All-American. First team All-American in 1950 by the Newspaper Association. Collier's Magazine, you remember that. The Helms Foundation and the All-East, All-State, and All-Ivy played in the East-West Shrine Game and the College All-Star Game in 1950. He also played in the Senior Bowl in 1951, coached at St. Joe's Prep, 1951 and 52, line coach at Pennsylvania, 56 to 59. In 1985, he was elected to the National Football Foundation and Philadelphia Chapter's Man of the Year for College Hall of Fame. 1995, University of Pennsylvania and City All-Stars Chapter Pennsylvania Sports Hall of Fame. 1998, the Jewish Sports Hall of Fame. Would you welcome, please, my friend, Bernard Lemonick.
Let me simply say that being here tonight was one of the great thrills. The number of people, the warmth, the kindnesses, the attention, it makes one almost tear a little bit and step back and realize how lucky we all are. I feel honored certainly to be here tonight and be inducted into this Pennsylvania State Sports Hall of Fame. And without question, the credits and the accomplishments of those who have been inducted this year, 1999, are outstanding, and I wish them all congratulations. But even beyond that, I feel especially privileged to be in this Hall of Fame, whose former selectees include, among many, many others, people like Arnold Palmer, Jim Thorpe, Steve Van Buren, and Red Grange. What a lineup. It was long ago when I was a kid, and the University of Pennsylvania was a bright light for me. It was the kind of school that had everything that a youngster could want. It was the kind of place that had a special visions and special objectives. And lots of these things were developed by a guy by the name of Byram Sam, who in those years was an outstanding sports announcer. And he used to bring life to the players and to the games at Franklin Field. And it was on the radio. There was no TV. And I sat as a youngster and listened to each play. I could not forget the detailed images described by Sam about the pageantry, about Franklin Field being filled with 80,000 people, about the fact that there was excitement, and there were cheerleaders and the band, and it was remarkable. But even more remarkable was how he described the players. People like Franny Murray and Eddie Allen and Frank Reagan and Bob Odell, Ray Frick and Bert Stiff. Names that were glorious to me in those days, and I was just a little guy that was running around listening to names, but it was Penn. The coaches also were the heroes, and they had their own histories, and they had their own reputations, and they were outstanding, brilliant people in my mind. Columbia's Lou Little, Army's Red Blake, Michigan's Fritz Chrysler, Notre Dame's Frank Leahy, and of course, Penn's George Munger. Not only were the names so outstanding, but the history of the University of Pennsylvania football was brilliant. As a matter of fact, it probably ranked among the great sports stories of our time. Listen to some of these things. Franklin Field was opened in 1895 at a cost of $100,000, now the nation's oldest. In all of the football world, Penn was first with a scoreboard, a place kick, numbered jerseys, a night game, two-tiered stadium, an indoor game at Madison Square Garden where Penn played Rutgers and beat them 13-10. Play-by-play on WIP in 1922. In 1940, the first football telecast, which was sponsored by Philco, Penn won 51 to Maryland's 0. The Heisman Trophy, given each year to the most outstanding football player in the United States, is named for John Heisman, who coached at Penn in 1920 and 1922. John Outland, for whom the Outland Trophy is named, given to the best lineman in the United States, played at Penn and was a two-time All-American in 1898 and 1899. The former Supreme Court of the United States, Justice William Brennan, a 1928 Penn grad, served as water boy for the 1927 football team. Penn played in 1,194 games during its full-time career. And this is more than any collegiate football program has produced. Penn football teams and players in my time were the athletic focal point of the city. 1938 to 1942, Penn drew 1,000,078 fans, best in the nation by nearly 300,000. Between 38 and 53, and these were the years when George Munger coached. 7 of those years, Penn led the nation in attendance. My personal experience in football added tremendously to my life. The people I met, the friendships I developed, the richness of living through extraordinary events. The lessons learned were exceptional, starting with the aches and pains of training, the commitment to excellence, the intensity of effort in reaching goals, the confidence and optimism generated by the depth of preparation, the respect for opponents, the sadness of defeat, and the exhilaration of victory. All of the lessons impacted on my approach to the challenges that I experienced then and challenges I experience today. The exposure to intense competition provided strength and pride in accomplishment, but no one acts alone in accomplishment. So let me just thank a few people. First of all, my mother and dad. They provided the genes, the family unit, the love, the work ethic. My brothers Aaron and Seymour and sister Ruth, all brilliant, kind, and contributors to those with whom they came in contact in their professional lives. My wife Felicia, we've been married almost 42 years. Magnificent mother, grandmother, compassionate, caring, encouraging, supportive, loving, talented, but still, from time to time, ask the question, did I play without a helmet? Our children, Jim, John, and Julie, achievers with strong values and respect, and spouses of quality, one of whom is here tonight, Sherry, who is the wife of John. Julie and Gail are at home with their new babies. Both had babies born within this last month. Our grandchildren, Michael, Jacqueline, Hillary, and more recently, Mark and Elizabeth, citizens of the future with great potential. The University of Pennsylvania, a mecca of learning and great opportunity. George Munger, an humble man who produced arrogant football teams. George attracted superb players and inspired absolute devotion. He loved his players, and we loved him back. Ray Cruther, in his time the best, most creative line coach in the country. My teammates, we were family with great trust, pride, and confidence in each other, with a singular purpose of victory on the field. My teammates over 3 years included the nation's elite, Chuck Bednarik, Reds Bagnell, Eddie Bell, Ray Dooney, and Bull Schrader, among others. My business colleagues are here today, led by Charles Seymour, who is probably one of the outstanding valuation and appraisal people in the United States. I must say that our friends are here today in great numbers, and their attendance is a great tribute for which I am grateful. I have to go on and simply say thanks to the Philadelphia All-Stars president, Milt Halstead, Ed Bram, who is a member of that group, and Bob Clark, who helped lead me down this aisle here. The Delaware County chapter, what a great group, led by John Furlow, president, how helpful he was, and Len Paradise, who is the dinner coordinator. This has been a wonderful day and a wonderful night, which I will remember with great pride and great joy for the rest of my life. Thank you, President Tom Harlan, state officials, and members of the Pennsylvania Hall of Fame for this great honor.
Our next awardee is a journalist, and he is some kind of journalist. He is such a journalist that Phil Newman, who is here tonight, who does sports on KYW, wore a necktie. And he said, for me to wear a necktie, and particularly when the temperature was 90 degrees in South Jersey, a guy's got to be special. He's wearing that necktie in honor of you. He writes, in my 44 years of writing, beginning June 1956, I've spent the last 27 years with the Inquirer. Nominated 5 times for the Pulitzer Prize, chosen Sports Writer of the Year for Pennsylvania 11 times, winner of the National Headline Award, and more than 70 national and state writing awards, the author of 3 books. He's covered 9 Olympics, 26 Super Bowls, 27 Masters tournaments, 25 U.S. Opens, 31 Final Fours, over 100 championship fights, the World Series and NBA and Stanley Cup Finals, 21 college bowl games, the Triple Crown, and the Indianapolis 500. A busy man, and my pleasure to welcome Bill Lyon of the Philadelphia Inquirer.
When John Furlow first called to tell me about this, and John, thank you, and Carmen, my man, I have to confess that I began to dance on the ceiling. And then I learned who was already in this Hall of Fame. Jim Thorpe, Arnold Palmer, Stan Musial, are you kidding me? Honus Wagner, Connie Mack. It blew me away, and I went from the ceiling to my knees in a heartbeat. I was humbled then, and I'm humbled now. And I started to think about a story my grandfather told me. about a motorist who was hopelessly lost on a back road. And he blew a tire, went into the ditch, and the car turned upside down. Fortunately, he was unhurt. Scrambled out, shaken, got back up on the road, and he took stock of his situation, and he began to panic. And about this time down the road came a farmer with his old blind mule, Gus. Farmer hitched up Gus to the car, and he cracked his whip, and he said, "Pull, Jake, pull." Gus never moved. Farmer cracked his whip again, and he shouted, "Pull, Jenny, pull." Old blind Gus just stood there. One more time the farmer cracked his whip and he shouted, "Pull, Henry, pull." Still, old blind Gus didn't move. And then the farmer cracked his whip and he shouted, "Pull, Gus, pull." And old blind Gus dug in and began to churn his legs, kicking up great clods of dirt with the effort, and there was this great groaning and squeaking of metal, and the car came up out of the ditch onto the road, right side up. Well, the motorist was astounded and more than a little grateful and very, very curious. "I've just got to ask you," he said to the farmer, "why did you call out all those other names?" And the farmer replied, "You know, if it had been up to Gus and he thought it was him alone going to pull that car out of the ditch, he never would have tried. But when he thought he had help, well, sir, then he was stronger than he ever thought possible." All of us have some Gus in us. If we're lucky, some of that farmer too. I have more than my share of Gus, but it has been my great good fortune to know a lot of farmers. And it occurs to me that the best thing about a night like this is that you get to acknowledge them. The nice thing about being in the spotlight is that you get to share it. So then, up on your feet, my wife Ethel. My candle on the water for almost 35 years. My mother, who is 86 and just flew out here from Illinois for this occasion. My sons Jim and John, up. And my daughter-in-law Sandy. And my very bestest buddies in the world, Evan Michael Lyon, 5.5, Joshua William Lyon, 3.5. You will be reading about them shortly. First they will win the Heisman Trophy, and then the Nobel Prize for Peace. There is, incidentally, nothing quite like a 3-year-old for proper perspective. When I told my wife about this wonderful honor, she said, as wives are known to do, "Well, there'll be no living with you now." About a half hour later, Sandy dropped by with Joshua. So I picked him up and put him on my lap, and I said, "Joshua, your pop-pop's going into the Hall of Fame." So he looked at me with great interest for quite a while, and then he whipped out a green lollipop and he said, "See what I just got at the bank, Pop?" And I turned to my wife and I said, "You were saying?" I also want to single out the Morella family. Up, up. They have their own 3 generations here tonight. Joe, his father Vic, Ruth, and Joseph. They are my touchstone. And my necktie pal from KYW, Phil Newman. Thank you for wearing the tie. And Marv Baccarat, a long and dear friend. Where are you, Marv? Marv, there he is. And my golfing compatriot, gentleman Joe Giuliano. Now the trouble with a list is, you never know where to end it. I only know that I have more debts than I can ever repay, and no one ever gets into the Hall of Fame on their own. I was told a long time ago when I began this business to try to do 2 things at all times: comfort the afflicted and afflict the comfortable. Find the bad in the good and the good in the bad. I don't consider myself a sports writer, I consider myself a people writer. And the people I write about just happen to play sports. And I'm often asked if that old cliche is true, does sports build character? I think what sports does is reveal character. I believe that the essence of a soul, the true nature of a person, comes out when they are under duress. And sports happens to be rich with such moments. Moments when we were held enthralled by grace under pressure. Moments when we were privileged to witness pride and passion, valor and resiliency, persistence and perseverance. Moments when we well up with the great shining indomitability of the human spirit. I stand before you overwhelmed. I look at my fellow inductees, I look at the roll call of the past, and all I can think is, God, I hope they don't think they made a mistake. Thank you for finding room for one more Gus.
Our next awardee is being honored for his feats in basketball. He was the head coach of Southern California from 1988 to 94, Iowa from 83 to 86, Washington State 72 to 83, assistant coach Maryland, Villanova, All-American 1960 and team captain at Villanova, Catholic League All-Stars, St. Michael's, Holborn Heights, 1952 to 1956 in the Scranton area, Coach of the Year, CBS 1992, PAC-8 1975, UPI West 1975, PAC-10, District 8 1983. He coached the USA Goodwill Games in 1994, U.S. Olympic Development Team in 1992, First Japan Clinic 1989, assistant coach of the gold medal winning team in the 1984 Olympics. Would you honor, please, George Raveling, the Ray.
Put the mic down kind of low, so you must have been expecting a lot of small talk. I hope your day has gone a little better than mine, because to tell you the truth, mine's been a bad day. I got up this morning and I went to put my shirt on, and the buttons fell off, and I went to grab my briefcase and the handle fell off, and I've kind of been afraid to go to the bathroom all day, so it's kind of been one of those days for me. Without question, I traveled the farthest to get here. I left Barcelona, Spain yesterday at 10 o'clock in the morning to get here, and I was, if you've ever been in Barcelona, the traffic's kind of tough in the morning, and I was running late getting to the airport, and I went flying into the airport, and I said to the ticket counter person, I said, hey, I've got to get to Philadelphia in the worst way, and the lady said, well, that'd be United Airlines. And so that was kind of how I got here. And I was checking my bags, and I said I need you to send one to Atlanta, one to LA, and one to Philadelphia. They said, hey, we can't do that. I said, you did it last year when I was here. And so today at lunch, a guy recognized me, and I told him I was having a bad day, and he said, well, I can sympathize with you. He said, I've been having a bad day. He said, mine started late last night. I said, well, what happened? He said, well, George, you're not going to believe this. I said, no, go ahead, try me. He said, well, I lost my wife in a poker game. I said, time out? He said, I lost my wife in a poker game. I said, how in the world did you do that? He said, George, it wasn't easy to fold with 4 aces. But on a serious note, fellow honorees, officers of the Pennsylvania Sports Hall of Fame, ladies and gentlemen, I I say to you with all sincerity that I believe that I stand before you this evening representing the luckiest human being that God's ever created in the history of mankind. And I say that because I've had more good things happen to me in my lifetime than any one human being deserves to have happen to him. All I've ever tried to do in life is to do something that my mom asked me to do on a constant basis. And that was to be a good person. Or as she would say, to be a good boy. Much of what I have derived from life, I owe to a little round leather ball called a basketball. That basketball has given me an opportunity to travel all over the world, to meet 4 presidents, to secure a college education which my parents would have never been able to afford. And perhaps more relevant than anything, it's given me the opportunity to answer 2 fundamental questions that are relevant to my life. And those are, who am I and what am I capable of being? And as I've traveled the highways and the byways of life, I've learned a lot of interesting things that have helped me become a better person. I'd like to say to you today that this is a dream come true, but never in my lifetime did I ever dream that I would be so honored. But I do wish to assure you that I'm deeply appreciative of the honor. And I say to you in closing, thank you and God bless you.
Well, these guys look in shape. You got any eligibility left? Our next awardee is a football coach. He was also a 3-sport star at Cole Township High School. He played for Rip Engel at Penn State, coached football at Shamokin Catholic, Johnstown Bishop McCourt, and Abington High Schools. Compiled a career log of 140 wins, 50 losses, 9 ties, which included 5 unbeaten seasons and winning streaks of 35 and 29 games. He coached NFL standouts Jack Ham and Pete Duranko. 7-time Conference Coach of the Year, assistant coach in the Big 33 game, inducted into the Pennsylvania Coaches Association Hall of Fame in 1993. Would you welcome, please, Joe Schumacher.
Well done. My wife says I look better with the hat on. You know, I'm not like you. I have hair. That's from that England black and tan you're drinking. I really have hair. But since I retired, I've been playing golf a lot. And the sun, you know, the sun, it just beats down to it. It makes it transparent. Right? But I'd like to talk to the guy who set up the sequence of speakers. I mean, you put me behind these guys here. I don't know what you're going to expect now. They did a real good job. I'll try. I, like Bill, was very much in awe when I was told I was going to be inducted in the Hall of Fame. I mean, and he mentioned the people that are in it, and I just feel so good, and I feel proud. When I called my sister up, who's also here, and I told her that I was being inducted, and the first thing she says is, "Boy, Mom and Dad would be proud of you." Well, I don't think they could be any more proud of me than I'm proud that I'm going to be listed alongside these people and all the other ones, and they're all listed in the Hall of Fame. So I'm in awe, and I'm nervous, and you're going to have to bear with me, because I get emotional when I get nervous. The Doylestown paper put a release out, and Kent, I don't remember his last name, it was a foreign name, Smith or Jones or something like that. And he asked me, what do I attribute my success to? What do I remember? And who did I play against? Well, I've been out of coaching for 25 years now. Some of the memories, I mean, they're just starting to come back to me now because I put them away for so long. So it took a little while for me to go back and remember. George, I envy you. At least you know why you went to the bathroom. Well, anyway, let me share some of my experiences. I guess I was successful. I was in the right place at the right time. I think I had the ability to recruit top-notch coaching staff. And I was honest with the ball players. We told the ball players exactly what we thought, who's coming up this week, and we tried to explain to them in a truthful fashion what our chances were. If we were a better ball club, we told them we think we're a better team. It's pretty tough to tell a team week after week that you have to dig down deep and this team can beat you and watch out. Well, if you're going to get them juiced up like that for every game, what are you going to do when you have that real big game coming up? So we had a philosophy that we're going to be truthful as much as we can, and we started our game philosophy on Monday, depending on what happened the week before, and the kids obviously knew they had to play ball. So we were honest. I was never as honest as Tommy Prothro, because UCLA, San Diego, before a ball game, he told his players, he says, now if you go out, play the best game you've ever played in your life, and you play over your head, and they play the worst they've ever played, we still don't have a chance. We were never that honest. When we were in that kind of a situation, we just kept the truth from our kids and just prayed for rain. Some of the experiences that I had, really, they're not involved with the games. It's the relationships. It's the things that happen. The problems that you have with the kids. The conflicts you have with your job and your family and your wife sometimes. I remember in Shamokin, I started the football program there. When I was at Penn State, the advice they gave me was, don't follow a successful coach. Well, I never did follow a successful coach. Never. Shamokin, they didn't have a coach. It was easy. It was easy to get those kids playing, hungry. Some of the younger people won't remember this. Some of the older people, I think, might be able to relate. We didn't have a field. We didn't have uniforms. We bought uniforms from a professional team. Can you imagine taking professional uniforms and putting them on high school kids? Well, in those days, they didn't have the big boy pads and everything like that. We'd walk a half a mile to practice on cinders and dirt. Never had a field. First year, we played intramural football. Second year, we played a 5-game schedule. I do remember one game, the first game they ever played, St. Patrick's in Scranton. We didn't win a game, but boy, I remember that game. The contingent of fans that we had, and they followed us all the way out. We had a tremendous game. We almost won. Our kids never played football a day in their life. St. Patrick's was an experienced team. It was in the middle of August. They had played games, our kids hadn't. As a matter of fact, the only experience we had was Stan Rakowski. We scrimmaged against, where's Stan? We scrimmaged against your father. He was an established football coach, football team, and his father was very gracious. He said, what should we do? I mean, you know, I know this is your first year. I said, look, give it to us. This is the only way the kids are going to learn. Well, they got it. And then when we went up to play St. Pat's, we were beating them 21-6 until the fourth quarter. Our kids just got tired. They wore out. right then and there, we knew that these kids were going to play ball. The second year, hey, they took the division championship in the Catholic League. Those are things that I remember. I remember after the games, I coached basketball also, we'd go out at night. And my wife, well, she used to get upset. Come home late, you know how it is. You meet fellow coaches, talk about the game. And one time, I took her to a social with some friends that were new to her. And she asked one friend, she says, how do you keep your husband from staying out late? Oh, that's easy. I just go to bed, I wait until he comes home, and as he's coming up the steps, I just yell out, "Is that you, Bernie?" Well, how does that stop him from not going out anymore? My husband's name is Jim. My wife tried that on me. My wife, she came from what we used to call a patch, upstate. Today they call it the suburbs. She was very, very naive. When she started having her menstruation, her grandmother told her you can get pregnant by kissing. And she did believe that for a while. Any woman who was that naive and as trustworthy as she was, I didn't have to worry about Bernie. Because Bernie was out with us anyway. Today you don't have the kids that are naive like that. And the kids that are growing up today, not only, they don't have any inhibitions, which is good. And a lot of times people talk about this younger generation, how they're growing up and they don't follow the rules and they don't do this and complaining about them. I got a large family, and if people raise their kids like I know my kids that are being raised, they have rules. And they follow the rules. And of course they're uninhibited. It reminds me of my one grandson. He was in kindergarten. They went to school and the teacher said, look now, everybody can make up some rules. Everybody can make up 3. So she went through a couple of kids, and then finally she came to little Joe and she says, okay Joe, what are the 3 rules that you would like to have? Don't smoke, don't drink, and don't play with your wiener. And that's a true story. That actually happened. Now, the kids are growing up today. They don't have the inhibitions. They can adjust to things. And honestly, to a certain extent, that's easier to coach. I went on to Johnstown. Johnstown had another football field, half a mile away, walk to it, come back. I had guys like, in 5 years I had 4 guys that made All-American and went on to the pros. It's easy to win there. Abington, for any of you people locally know about Abington, back in the late 60s, hey, they had everything. I had 36 coaches. I had 10 feeder teams. I had an administration that backed us completely. There was time there that we had kids that couldn't make our starting ball club, and they went on to college, broke records at some of their schools, and even became captains of football teams. When you have those kind of situations, it's not too difficult to win football games. Rather than talk about any of the people that I played against, if you go to Penn State, you're always playing with great players and you're playing against great players. I played for Rip and Toretti, the same as Baker played. Jim played for Paterno. But rather than mention people that I played against, I'd like to remember some of the people that I do know that are in the Hall of Fame. I'm very, very proud to be listed with some of the legends. Pete Imperio from Westinghouse is a legend out in the western part of the state. I remember playing that game. We kicked a 36-yard field goal. It hit the crossbar, bounced over, and we won the game. And that game was significant because we both had big winning streaks going on at the same time. That one I remember. I remember playing Upper Marion. Both teams were undefeated. Upper Marion had a kid named Bobby Baker and Bobby Thomas. We were winning 24-6 with 3 minutes left to play. And we found a way to lose that ball game. With that loss, we went into the locker room and we locked the doors. We wouldn't let the media in. And we mulled things over as to what happened. And I think our football players learned more about life after that loss than any game they probably could have ever won. Going to football camp, taking the kids up to the mountains. Many of the kids in the city never saw the mountains. And we'd put on a wolf record at night. The kids would be scared. The wolves are out there. We went to camp for 12 years up at Harry Litwack's camp. We only ever had one kid escape. 8 o'clock the next morning, his father has him down there before we're eating breakfast. These are many things that I remember when I coach. The games, I can remember some of them. But the coaching staffs, the friends, the people I came across, Shamokin was a great town to grow up in. When I went to Johnstown, it was just like home. Same kind of people, same type of people. They took a stranger in. Then when I came to Abington, things just went my way. I would like to thank the people of Shamokin. They followed a local boy. He made good, and they saw fit to nominate me for the Pennsylvania Hall of Fame. Bernie, where's Bernie? Now you know who Bernie is. He's here somewhere. Bernie Romanowski, Moto Gursky, who is down there. There's Bernie. Stand up, Bernie. Now you know who Bernie is. Moto, where's Moto? He had to go out. And Tommy Ryan, who I coached at Shamokin, he's pretty much the press release man up at the Romanowski chapter. Those people I would like to thank very, very much. You can't win games without having help. There's one thing that I did in my life that nobody ever helped me. And that was on September 4th, 1952. I asked a beautiful young woman to marry me. And thank goodness she did. This is the woman who tried to pull the Bernie story on me. The woman of 7 children, 19 grandchildren, and we call her Super Mom. Half of this belongs to you, hon. In closing, again, thank you very much, and I'm very proud to be part of the Hall of Fame.
Our next honoree was an All-American in field hockey at Temple in 1958, U.S. Olympic Committee in basketball 1972, 73, and 74, an international hockey official in Argentina in 1973, New Zealand in 1976, Scotland in 1976, Canada 1979, Australia 1982, American Cup 1982, Temple University Hall of Fame 1982, the Delaware County Hall of Athletes 1983, the Delaware County Chapter, the Pennsylvania Sports Hall of Fame in 1984, the Sticker Award at Temple in 1987, Women's Sports Foundation Award, National Coaching Award 1989, the F. Eugene Dixon Award in 1995, and she is still actively officiating all over the world. Taking time out from her busy schedule, Aggie Stegmuller.
Not quite that tall. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. And I want to thank Presidents Harlan and Furlow and the Delaware County Chapter, Pennsylvania Hall of Fame, and Pennsylvania State Hall of Fame for conferring on me this high honor. Congratulations. Is that better? To all of you, my fellow honorees. Delaware County and Philadelphia area schools and colleges have a rich tradition of excellence. My roots are here. I was fortunate to have great teachers, coaches, and mentors, first at Glenmore High School and later at Temple University. These people helped me to develop my God-given talents that have taken me from the local to the national and international levels of playing and officiating. Title IX has opened the door of opportunity for women. However, when I was growing up, going through school and college, scholarship opportunity was almost nil for women. I'm grateful to my parents who supported my desire to go to college and for all the doors that has opened to me. It's very thrilling to be chosen to represent your country. Spine tingling, your knees kind of wobble when you're standing on line waiting to play and you hear your national anthem playing and you know that you have been chosen as one of the best to represent your country and to take on the best from another country. Refereeing has been an extension of my playing career that has brought me unbelievable opportunities. Starting at home, PIAA, Public and Catholic League Championships, NCAA Division I Championships in 4 sports, and finally the international level. We have great mentors here. Hank Nichols, Ed Rush, Jerry Dunnigy, Mickey Crowley are but a few. Knowing the rules is a piece of cake, but you've got to have good common sense and great people management skills. I learned from the masters. This separates the good from the best. Internationally, you quickly learn about nationalism, particularly in third world countries, win at all costs, even cheating. You see it on TV, even at the Olympics. I know you all remember the famous basketball game against Russia where they kept putting time on until Russia finally won. Well, it happened to me. I was officiating in Germany. We were ahead 3-2. German umpire was keeping time on the field like soccer. I knew the game was over and I kept pointing to my watch. Time, 9, just yet. Game went on for another 10 minutes. Germany scored. Tweet! Game's over. It would have been a national disgrace for them to lose to us. It pays to know a few foreign languages. Doesn't matter if your grammar and sentence structure aren't so hot. Just be sure that you can make your point and know what's going on around you, and you will be in command of the situation. My first international game was in New Zealand, India, Japan. English was not the primary language. When I started the game, the India coach began running up and down behind me. Medium umpire, medium umpire, medium umpire. What the heck? I tried to get him to sit down. Finally, there was a timeout, and I turned to him. I said, Monsieur, s'il vous plaît, la banque. He stared hard at me, and I stared back. And I began to get a red card. Oh, madame, madame. He sat right down. As I restarted the game, I heard this big cheer, and I thought, what was that all about? I found out at the end of the game the cheer was for me. I was the first umpire had made him sit on the bench. Two satisfactions that I continue to enjoy in sport, particularly field hockey, are coaching and officiating. I coach in the United States Under-19 developmental program to help give back some of the good things I have had and the opportunities I've had through sport, and help the young women develop their athletic and academic talent and achieve their goals, whether it be to use this talent for a college scholarship or to play in our national program. Officiating is great fun. In the world, there are seniors tournaments every 3 years. You know about them in golf and tennis, but in the world, more men than women play field hockey. And there will be about 80 to 100 teams coming to Brisbane, Australia in October. I will be one of the referees. The entry age is 40 and it goes on up into the 80s, men's, women's, and mixed teams. It's just wonderful to share the spirit, sportsmanship, good play, and camaraderie, and general good fun at these games. In closing, I want to thank all of you here, my Delaware County chapter fellow members, and the Pennsylvania State Hall of Fame once again for this, its highest honor. I am grateful to have received this honor here in Delaware County in my own time and among my own friends, and I'm happy to have been able to share it with all of you. Thank you. Thank you. Disaster here. Thank you.
Our next awardee was a basketball player. He probably still is. Duke Hall of Fame, 1966 Atlantic Coast Conference Player of the Year, MVP in the 1966 ACC tournament. He led Duke to the NC2A final, 4 appearances in sophomore and senior years, captain of the 1966 Duke team, All-State, All-League, All-County, Dream Game MVP in high school at Scranton Prep, Biddy Basketball All-American in 1956. He played on the first ABA champion Pittsburgh Pipers in 1968 and 2 other years in the ABA. 11 years coaching and athletic director of Winthrop University, 5 years as associate athletic director at Duke University. Would you welcome, please, Steve Besendick.
Thank you. George, if we go on any longer, the men are going to take their chances in the restroom, based on your story. But tonight is a special evening, and I don't know where to begin to thank everyone who made this evening possible. I want to recognize some individuals that have made my life all that much better. I'd like to begin by thanking John McCormick from Scranton, who did a lot, I think, to make this evening very possible for me. John, thank you very much. I'd like to recognize my daughter Angie, and my son Stephen, and my brother and sister Tom and Susie. Thank you for all your patience. This evening has been too long in some ways, but can't go on long enough in others. And by inducting me tonight, you have chosen to honor some wonderful people whose dedication and passion and love of me and other young men made it possible. I think of Father Hines, my first basketball coach in Biddy basketball, and he was the first person who showed me that the Catholic Church had a human side, because Father Hines had a way of letting officials know their appropriate place in the kingdom of the Lord, and he did it well, and he did it often. Bill Garrity, my junior high school coach, who taught me how to shoot a jump shot. And if you ever saw me shoot a jump shot, he is still the object of scorn in the coaching community. Jack Gallagher, my coach at Scranton Prep, a wonderful man who loved the game of basketball, but it was exceeded by his love for his players. And finally, Vic Bubas, my coach at Duke University, who was confident enough to set standards and man enough to expect results without controversy. An unusual person in today's environment. And finally, you honor my mom and dad, to whom I owe all. This evening is wonderful, but tonight at midnight, the limo is going to turn into a pumpkin, and I know that. For you see, tomorrow at breakfast, my son will be looking at me across the breakfast table with that little smirk, knowing that he would do things differently and better than his old man. My daughter will have her best Mona Lisa smile, already knowing how she's going to hoodwink me out of a few more dollars for that new dress at the mall tomorrow. And finally, Monday morning on the first tee, I'm not going to get any shots or strokes because my golfing partners aren't going to give a damn about what happened here tonight. So I'll just be dad and I'll just be friend for the rest of my life, but I'll also always be in the Pennsylvania State Hall of Fame. And for that, I'm eternally grateful. And thank you very much.
I don't have any more notes. Wasn't this a great evening? How about a round of applause for all of our athletes? You the man. Isn't that an awful phrase? You the man! And then the guy hooks it into the woods.
Thanks, Bill, for a great presentation, and once again to you inductees. It really is an honor for me just to be a part of this entire program. I'd like you to thank Tom Smith back on the keyboard. Oh, I guess Tom is gone, but Tom had provided all our great songs. Thank you for coming tonight, and hope to see you all again in the future. It's been a great time for all of us, and I'd like now to bring back Monsignor McFadden.
Again, we'll just end with a prayer. Let us pray. Almighty Father, as we come together this evening, we thank you for the many memories that we've shared this evening. We thank you for the work of all the people who put this dinner together and for all the work they do throughout the year to honor the Pennsylvania athletes in the Pennsylvania Hall of Fame. And as we leave tonight, we ask you to go with us, to protect us on our journey, to protect our family, and to always shed your love upon all of us. We ask all this in your name. Amen.
Okay. Thank you and good evening. Bernie. Bobby.
I said to Mike, don't play with your
Out of all those great talks tonight, that's what we remember.
That's all I can remember.
That's about it, right?
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Callahan.
Have a nice summer. Make it see.
In the back.
Hold up, we're about to eat together.